Which players are we avoiding this season? Find out next on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5. Today is Wednesday, March 8th. I am Frank Sample, joined by Scott White. And let's get into the bus, Scotty. 2 hitters that you are avoiding, Jazz Chisholm and Starling Marte.
Yeah, so the case for Jazz Chisholm, I think, is pretty straightforward. He has played, let's leave 2020 out of it since it was a weird season. So in 2 years now, Jazz Chisholm has gotten in the majors. And in those 2 years, he has yet to come close to playing a full season. He played 124 games as a rookie in 2021. He played just 60 games last year. Now, his production was good. If you're talking head-to-head points production, he was the second best on a per-game basis behind Altuve at second base. So I understand the enthusiasm for Jazz Chisholm, but particularly in leagues with a bunch of experts who tend to buy into the position scarcity thing, he is often getting pulled into round 4 or even round 3. And that just seems like, I think it's just a little like, you're too optimistic at that point. Like you're just totally discounting the injury risk. At round 5, I think it's a little more acceptable, but there are still some really like high quality proven bats in round 5. And so I still think it's a little bit of a danger there. It seems like a potential landmine where, okay, I'm going to draft this guy for second base and I'll have a stud at a position with few studs. Well, that may not be true for much of the season. And then, where else could that pick have gone? So potential landmine there in Jazz Chisholm. Starling Marte, he's sliding in drafts because obviously he's been hurt this spring because he's always hurt and he's 34. So I don't see how that's going to change. But even with him sliding, I'm just not that excited about him because I'm not confident at his age that he's even that good at the thing that we've always valued him for, which is stolen bases. His sprint speed dropped to around the 60th percentile last year. He's normally been 80th, 90th percentile. Again, he's getting older, so it makes sense that he'd be slowing down. It affected his production on the base paths. Stole just 18 bases in 118 games. Was caught 9 times. 66.7% success rate. Not very good. And so if you can't count on him being a prolific base stealer even when he's healthy, and you can't count on him being healthy, I just don't know that I want much to do with Starling Marte unless it's a really shallow league and he goes really, really late.
All right, 2 busts for me. Also 2 hitters. Dansby Swanson, just don't like buying off the career year. Now moves over to the Chicago Cubs. It's a much worse lineup to be a part of. The Braves were 3rd in runs scored. The Cubs were 22nd. And he kind of slowed down in the second half last year. Dansby Swanson, 254 batting average, 702 OPS. The hard contact came down. The ground balls went up. So I still think he's a good player, but the ADP is going right around O'Neal Cruz and Wander Franco. I prefer those names over Dansby Swanson. And one hitter I just don't ever find myself drafting is Jake McCarthy. Last year, he was a league winner down the stretch. He led baseball in stolen bases in the second half of the season, but he doesn't walk very much and he doesn't hit the ball very hard. So 20th percentile average exit velocity, the barrel rate was not great. The expected batting average and expected slug, also not great for Jake McCarthy. And I don't know how tied the Diamondbacks are to him. If he struggles, do they owe him playing time? They've got some mouths to feed on that team. So I do worry about Jake McCarthy and where he's going. He's just someone I don't typically wind up with. Scott, 2 more busts for you. 2 pitchers who pretty scary injury history in Jacob deGrom and Freddie Peralta.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're detecting a thing with the injury risk. But, the way I think of busts is potential landmines there that could blow up your season. Injury is the worst way of doing that. And you could be injury agnostic and kind of think it's random, but in Jacob deGrom's case, there's a pretty clear marker from when it started. In 2018 and 2019, he was still the best pitcher in baseball, won the Cy Young both years, and yet he was throwing his fastball 2 to 3 miles per hour slower than he began throwing it in 2020, which was the short season. But then we had 2019, 2020. 2021, 2022. He wasn't able to go 100 innings either of those. So basically, the time he went from being just sort of a normal hard thrower to the hardest thrower in baseball, it helped deGrom on a per inning basis. His swinging strike rates are way higher than any other pitcher. But did he really need it, considering he was already the best pitcher in baseball without it? I just think the evidence shows that his body can't withstand it. It doesn't hold up to it over a full season. So I can't see myself drafting deGrom. And Freddie Peralta, of course, he was great in 2021. Last year, he was hurt much of the year. But even when he wasn't hurt, the Brewers were really coddling him. He made 18 appearances, 17 of them starts. Only 4 of those 18 appearances did he go 6 innings or more. And in 9 of those 18 appearances, half of them, he went less than 5 innings. So even if he's able to stay healthy this year, what will it take to keep Freddie Peralta healthy? I find I like other pitchers in that range much more.
All right, and we gave out a bunch more busts, which you can listen to on our full-length Fantasy Baseball Today podcast. Listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Audacy app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.